Good afternoon. My name is Steve Cotton. This is Mondays with Wallace. Wallace couldn't be here today, so we have Steve, Brandon, and Carol here with you on Mondays with Wallace.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Brandon? How you been, man?
Doing well, doing well.
We have with us today Brandon Tidwell from Sweet Daddy Edibles, and we have Carol Lemire here. And today we're going to open up by talking about the Oscars. How did everybody enjoy the Oscars last night?
They were good, entertaining, very entertaining.
You know, it's funny. First I tripped because I wanted to host, but then when I went to the beach and walked, everybody said it was the best show they've seen the Oscars because it wasn't as boring.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people say it was good because they did not have a host.
That's what they said. They liked it that there wasn't a host. The commercials were movies, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Previews of movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were a lot of surprises.
Yeah.
Especially, remember when they announced Best Picture?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of us thought Bohemian Rhapsody would get it, but Spike Lee was very rude when he didn't get it. Very rude.
That's what my mom said. My mom didn't like how Spike had a little attitude.
They zeroed in on him, and he was like, but then afterwards he talked and ran his mouth, and he was drinking, and he's like, he didn't know what to say, but it's wrong. Why would you trip?
Spike definitely had a couple cocktails last night. He may have some cannabis, too. You guys think Spike Lee smokes weed?
I wouldn't be
Oh,
surprised.
I think so.
Yeah, man. Spike smoke a little weed here and there.
I like the Green Book one.
Yeah,
I thought all three
movie.
of those movies were great.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever been to the Oscars, Carol?
Yeah, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You were doing hair for the Oscars.
I'll go with an artist to it. I'm not normally doing this. I'm just there in case something needs to be done.
Awesome.
They have hair people, but a lot of your artists don't want to use those people. They want to use their own people.
Oh, yeah.
That is definitely on my bucket list. I got to get to the Oscars and the Grammy.
Well,
I've done the BET Awards, but I don't think that counts.
No, that doesn't count.
BET Awards.
I think the BET Awards sometimes are very entertaining or Soul Train.
Oh, man. Very entertaining.
They had a joke. Michael Strahan
you might
said,
get shot.
I'm telling you, fights break out in the crowd there.
Michael Strahan said he saw so many black people he thought it was a BET Award.
A lot of people won, like Black Panther won Best Costume, which I was so happy for her.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they won Best Set Design, if I'm correct.
Oh, okay.
They won something when it came to the sets, but the costumes were amazing.
Yeah, they were.
Not that others weren't, but I thought it was great. You've seen a lot of minorities win this year, like Roma.
Yeah.
And I heard people are tripping in other lanterns because they felt they should have used darker lanterns. I go, can you ever please anybody? But I want to see that. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Sure.
I thought it was very good. There's a lot of controversy about Gaga and him singing to each other.
Oh, yeah.
His girlfriend didn't mind. He's an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Gaga might like him, but he's an actor. And I mean, if you've seen his girlfriend, I don't think
I wish we could take a poll of all the producers, all the people that won awards last night, and see which percentage of them smoke cannabis.
I'd probably say maybe 80%.
A good 80%, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Over 50% of these people smoke marijuana, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Versus drinking.
Just showing that cannabis is widely being used by everyone nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Definitely.
Well, I think because it's legal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I go to movies now and I can smell it. Where did I go recently? I went somewhere and they must have lit up right after it started. What was I at? I can't remember what I was at. But you could smell it right away.
Yeah.
Wasn't a movie.
Definitely seeing more and more people using vaporizers, too.
Yeah. That's really
Seems
the big
like
thing now.
everywhere I go, someone is vaporing.
Yeah.
Well, some vapors, though, you can't smell them.
You're right.
Yeah.
But some of them you can.
Can't smell
a lot of people say you can't smell them and da-da-da-da-da. But I've got around some people where their vapes are so strong, I'm like, oh, man, someone's smoking in here.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they have flavors. Like for some of the tobacco vapes, they have a lot of flavors on it, so you can smell those.
Smell the strawberry and the grape and things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, one guy had one. It smelled like straight kush, man.
Probably was.
I'm hearing about a new vape pen where you can stuff flour into it. I'm really interested into it.
What kind of flour?
like, for instance, marijuana flower.
Oh.
So instead of vaping the oils and the distillates and the concentrates, you can actually take what I usually put in a cigar. I break up the marijuana and I put it in a cigar and smoke it. I hear you can break up the marijuana and you can put it into a pen and you can vaporize with a pen.
Yeah, you can do that. They've had the pens around for a while. It just, they don't use them a lot because before they were using this, like, this coil and this battery operation. It was real complicated and it would break really easy.
What's the name of the brand?
Well, there's a few, but the one that's out now is called PAX.
PAX.
PAX has been around for, maybe
PAX.
PAX. Yep.
PAX. I think I've heard of them.
Yeah. They got right now. I think it's their 3rd generation model is out.
That phone.
We got a caller calling in right now, and our producer has stepped out the studio, so we're gonna let him call right back.
Okay.
I'm not able to answer that call right now, but we're gonna just wait and let it ring, and we're gonna let him call right back.
Is there a button we push?
There is a button. There's several buttons, but I don't want to push the wrong one over there.
Just push a button.
I love pushing buttons. We'll wait. So the PAX pen, you say that PAX pen could be very pricey too, right?
Yeah. They start at somewhere around $350.
$300 for a battery.
Yep. But it's rechargeables, lifetime warranty.
Lifetime warranty on it?
It takes probably about maybe a fourth of a joint to fill it up. You just break it down. There's a little area that you can put the bud in. And you put a little top on it, and it has 3 temperature settings.
Well, $300, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you're buying Swishers and Backwoods every single day, I mean, that can add up too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I probably spent, $10 on a pack of Backwoods.
Yeah. I mean, my pack still works today, and I've had it for probably over 5 years.
So do you guys think you have an addiction to weed?
Yeah, there's an addiction, but it's not, you're not addicted to using.
I mean, could you go a week without touching it?
I can't. Tough. I've been trying to do it. I've been trying every week, Carol.
It's tough.
I know, your poor dog.
Every time I see you, Carol, I'm trying to take a break. Man, it is very addictive. It's around us. We're in California.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
People crack me up when the phone was ringing. It was probably, people crack me up when they think it's just California, but I smoked more weed before I came to California. So when you live in a boring town, they're more apt to smoke.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. It's gonna really start being a big thing in LA because they're starting to have locations where you can go and socialize and smoke. Some of the vapor lounges are starting to pop up.
Yeah, there's one in West Hollywood. I think it's a real high-end restaurant or something that's opening.
Oh yeah, I think that's the rooftop one.
Yes.
Yeah, rooftop restaurant.
People are doing hookah everywhere.
Yeah.
Hookah is widely known out here.
Yeah.
Everyone's smoking.
Well, in Amsterdam for years, you could go in a restaurant and it's on the menu.
I've never been to Amsterdam. You been over there, B?
No.
Well, it's
never.
a party.
Yeah,
You can order hash, and it'd be good hash. I don't even know if they have hash any longer now that they have vapors, because that's the oil in there, right?
Yeah. Years ago, they had a dispensary at Venice Beach on the boardwalk. It was right above Muscle Beach.
I've seen it.
And inside, when you went inside, they had a bar set up, and it was a bar for hash. Mm-hmm. So they would have a whole menu, and you would order different types of hash, different strains of it. You would get like a little hit of it, and they would give it to you in different ways. You could do it like in just a bong. They had other setups where they could like heat it up and put a container over it, and you would just inhale the smoke. But it was a really different experience for cannabis, because it's one thing when you're smoking out there, but there's such a stigma about it today that it doesn't really become fun or acceptable until it's in a social setting. Mm-hmm. And now everybody's engaged in it, and it's very it can be very fun. It can be very fun.
Alfie's trying to call. Oh, okay.
We have a caller calling in right now. We're going to take a moment and see who's calling in today. This is Mondays with Wallace. This is Steve. Who do we have with us today?
Good evening, Steve. This is Alpha.
Hey, Alpha, how you been?
I've been hanging in there. I didn't see anything up on Facebook, so I had to dig up the numbers.
I'm glad you let us know. We're going to check that right now. Our studio is checking to make sure our live stream is popping up on Facebook as we speak. Yep, it should be on Mondays with Wallace.
As crude as I can be, your producer seems to be sitting around digging in his butt instead of putting up his
Oh, man.
Oh, okay. Because I have no idea. I have no clue what the conversation is about.
Did you tune into the Oscars last night, Alfie?
Did I tune into the Oscars?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I have to say, I haven't tuned into the Oscars in over 20 years.
Wow.
And there was just something about
the hype.
It wasn't another damn thing on TV. Y'all find you something better to do than to watch the Oscars.
Did you watch it, though?
Oh, yeah, I watched it.
They were good, better than they usually are.
I enjoy the outfits. Everyone's so well dressed and dressed to impress. I just enjoy watching all the outfits and dresses.
Yeah, definitely.
I like the guy that wore the gown.
I missed that one.
The gown, the tuxedo
Yeah,
gown.
and he had the tuxedo
Is that what that
gown.
was?
Wow.
No, it was the dress.
The tuxedo gown.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, from Black Panther, I think.
Yeah, he had a tuxedo gown. It was nice.
Amazing.
Somebody explain that to me, please.
I'm going to find a picture.
It's called creativity, man. People are getting creative. That's what happens when you smoke cannabis. That creativity comes out.
That's not creativity.
There was nothing wrong with it.
Cannabis don't do that to you. What do you mean it wasn't nothing? How many hoops did he have under that dress to keep it flared out like that?
I'm telling you, that's what happens when you get creative like that.
And what was he wearing to support his boys? Come on.
It was spread out. So how it was supportive because it was a big hoop. So his boys, it wouldn't have mattered. It wasn't tight.
I wish I could have seen this gown you guys are talking about, so I can tune into this one.
You know what else was great was Melissa McCarthy and whoever that guy was with her. Remember she came out and she had the thing on with the bunny rabbits all trailing behind.
She had real rabbits?
No, they were fake. But
okay.
You didn't see it?
I missed it.
Oh, she was hilarious. And the guy, who was that?
My attention span, man. I can't sit there and watch 2 hours straight of the Oscars. I can't just watch 2 straight hours of the Oscars. How long was it? 3 hours?
Yeah, it was long.
Mm-hmm.
But that was different things were highlights.
Back and forth, back and forth.
They start the red carpet a lot earlier this year. That was kind of weird to me. I think it started at like 1:30 in the afternoon.
What venue was it at? I know it said Hollywood and Highland. What venue was it at, Carol?
You know what? Don't ask me.
Was that Kodak?
Sure? Oh, the Kodak, if it was there.
The Kodak Theater. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, you would have loved seeing Melissa McCarthy and this guy. They were the highlight of the show when they came out. Remember they were announcing costume for who was going to win best costumes?
Mm-hmm.
And they had that on. Here's the guy with the gown.
Wow. That's some gown right there.
Come on. Let's tell the truth now, Steve.
Carol pulled up that gown, and that's too much right there.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And tell me something. How dirty did the bottom of that gown get? Come on.
Probably the same as the women that were wearing gowns.
I just don't know how he's going to party at the after party in that thing.
They usually change when they get the after parties.
How do you twerk in that?
That's horrible, man. I hope he's got to change of clothes right by.
No, they always change.
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you, Melissa McCarthy, if you didn't see that, you would have been in hysterics when they came out. Did you see it?
I don't see that part.
Did you see it, Lee?
No,
Lee. Did you see it, Alfie?
No, I did not see that part of it.
Well, she came out, the two of them, when they were, but it was the funniest thing you see how they were dressed. And she had rabbits, this long thing, and there was bunny rabbits, and then she had one that was like kind of moving like a puppet. They were very entertaining, those two.
What city are you calling in from, Alfie?
I'm in Chicago.
You're in Chicago, man. I know the weed is pretty good out there, man. How's the weed out there? You smoked this week?
Not me. I stopped smoking years ago.
I know, man. I just thought you would tune in and hit something this week because you was watching the Oscars.
No, it would have been hazardous to my health.
Man, the weed is getting better and better out here in Cali, man. I want you to come visit me.
No, not for the weed.
Well, come to Hollywood, man. Come on out to Disneyland. Wallace got the season passes. He'll take you to Disneyland for the day.
Oh, God, I hate Disneyland.
That's what I want to do, man. When Wallace gets back, we got to go to Disneyland. I want to smoke some weed and go out to Disneyland for the day. Yeah. So today on our show, we're going to talk about something called the Social Equity Program. The Social Equity Program is an act that has taken place within the past year for people that have been charged of a marijuana crime to get their licensings ahead of everyone else who is waiting for their medical license. For years, people got put in jail for small weed crimes and locked up for weed crimes that today are being overlooked. So for anyone that has weed charges or that wants to get into the marijuana business, I want you guys to Google the Social Equity Program. This is something to help you get your medical license and create a business for something that you were put in jail for or charged for in the past. Now you can turn this into a business and make money for it instead of being put in jail for it. So if you have a moment, I want everyone to Google the Social Equity Program. And this program took place in the past year in the state of California, and it is helping people get licensings for being charged. Brandon, you know a little bit about it?
I do. And I was going to say, you can go to California Cannabis CPA, C as in cat, P as in Paul, A as in apple.com. And if you go there, they give you a lot of information about the social equity program, including requirements and how the verification process works. But it's really an awesome program for people who are usually cut out of the business side of cannabis.
Been blackballed.
Because
for so long, we've been blackballed from the business.
Yeah, definitely. Because of past things that have happened, whether it's criminal or, and there are a lot of circumstances surrounding that stuff. So,
what are you eating?
I'm not eating nothing. I'm trying to get some hulls off to go in my hot tea.
Oh, okay.
Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, bro.
Yep.
No, I feel that anybody who has been charged under marijuana law should be released from jail. I don't care if they were dealing big weight. I don't care what they were doing. They should be released. The stigmatization from that law alone should demand that people have some type of reparations for the injustices of charging them.
Yeah, I don't think they need reparations, but they definitely should lighten up their sentences, take a relook at their sentences, and give these people an opportunity to get reacclimated into the world.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't deserve to be in jail for things like this. It's weed. Yeah. It's really just weed.
The reparations would be putting it in the front of the line. Mm-hmm. The license.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing to do for them. Putting them in the front of the line and helping them create a business from it is amazing. Because right now, all the marijuana licensings and dispensaries are put on hold. There was a big rush, and everyone tried to go out and get their licensing. So they're trying to figure out the laws to put in place for the proper licensing, so they don't just give everyone a license. And while they're doing this, they're making it so that people that have weed charges and that have been put into society can now make a business out of what they were put in jail for. Give them a chance.
Will they give them back all the weed they took from them?
I'm sure they smoked all the weed they took from them, man. They're not getting that back.
But that's a good question. The money they made from it, supposedly they hold it as evidence.
Uh-huh.
So will they get their money back?
They should. They should, man.
Years ago, I had got stopped by an officer, and they confiscated some weed that I had. Mm-hmm. And I actually ended up going to court. I got with a public defender. I got a special warrant from the judge, and from that I was able to take that to the police station, and they actually had to go to the evidence locker, get the weed, and give it back to me.
And you smoked it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I wouldn't smoke that weed, man. I don't know what they did to that weed. I'm not smoking that weed. You gonna give it back to me? I don't want that. But you gonna roll that right up, B, huh?
Yeah. But it's interesting. That just gives you kind of like a little idea of how it is in Los Angeles. You know, just the whole cannabis experience is like, it's really becoming a legal thing where pretty soon you're going to be able to go to the police and say, hey, somebody stole my weed.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I'm curious too because, like drinking, if you have a certain level in you,
Yeah, for sure.
you get charges. So will they be able to do that with weed?
Well, you know, they're doing that.
I've heard of people getting cited. Absolutely.
But it's a big campaign right now. And they're making a big thing to say, hey, if we catch you under the influence, it's just the same as being under the influence of alcohol.
So if you get caught with alcohol, it's a DUI. If you get caught with marijuana, it's called a DWI.
Because, you know, I've noticed since weed has
Driving
become
while
more
under the
open,
influence.
I've noticed there's a lot more people getting killed through hit and runs. And I'm just curious, is it
I'm
related
sure.
to the weed?
That would be
I
interesting.
think it has a good slight correlance.
I mean, every
I wouldn't
time
be
you
surprised.
listen to news, somebody's been hit and ran over.
Yeah, big time.
I had a guy last week, but I always do this at a light. When it changes, I don't move out right away. I make sure that traffic's stopping. And I was smart, I did, because this big truck,
Ran the light.
he would have killed me.
It's a lot more drivers on the road that are using cannabis, and it is dangerous. We talk about that on our show all the time. We believe in the use of cannabis, but we want safe use of cannabis. I don't endorse, we don't endorse that. It's not safe to be riding around in your vehicle smoking weed, because the weed nowadays is real strong, and even if it wasn't real strong, it puts you in a space where you're impaired. Your reaction time is not the same, and you should not be smoking while operating heavy machinery.
And I'll just say from the perspective of just consuming marijuana, like eating it, if you think that eating cookies or brownies or anything is going to be easier for you to be able to drive under that, it's even worse.
Gosh.
Because it's so strong, it's so sedative, and it hits you at once. So that's just one thing to really, really be cautious of. You know? And honestly, if you listen to the stories that are on the news, most of them are related to people using edibles and either being behind the wheel or some type of, machinery or things that they shouldn't be using while under the influence.
Right. Let's make sure all of our users out there, all of our listeners, we make sure that we use cannabis safely. We do endorse cannabis. We want to make sure that you guys use it safely and you stay safe. We can't be riding around smoking weed.
Geez, I've seen cars. There's so many weed going on. That might be your friend calling in. There's nothing but smoke coming out. Timothy, there's nothing but smoke coming out.
We've got another caller today. Everyone wants to call in to Mondays with Wallace now.
But Wallace isn't here because his mother's very ill right now.
Today on Mondays with Wallace, we have a new caller. Who's calling in today?
Now, this is Detroit calling.
Yay.
This is who?
Detroit.
Detroit. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Thank you for calling into our show. And what's going on? What city are you calling from today?
Detroit.
You're calling from Detroit.
It tells you what he was doing before he stepped in here.
So we got Detroit calling from Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Perfect, man. Thank you for calling in today.
Carol? What did you say, Carol? What was I doing before I was calling
No,
in?
I was talking about him. Yeah, what are you doing? Are you listening to us talk about cannabis and exactly what goes on in L.A. since it's legal? These two are pros. One's a baker. Tell them what you do.
Oh, yeah, I have my own company. It's called Sweet Daddy Edibles. So we do all type of cakes and pies and cookies, all infused.
Good. You know, Detroit just legalized it, but even before then, I just wanted to call in because a lot of people have got a lot of misconceptions about it. Actually, and my doctors, who are much older, and they're white older, of course, I'm not trying to be racist or anything because I really don't believe in racism, but I just had to put that out there because people maybe want to believe it. Now, marijuana saved my life, especially edibles, and they even said it. They said, well, two things. They said because I'm plant-based eater and because I do edibles. Actually, they're trying to do me to do edibles now, but I'm afraid to do them because I had heart surgery. And the only reason I don't
It messes
do
with
them,
your blood pressure.
well, but the reason I don't do it is because, well, they want, like, they want me to start, like, eating smaller amounts of, like, brownies, because it's so potent to where I don't want to be freaking out thinking that something is wrong with my heart, and then I go to the emergency room and they put me in a corner and say, oh, this dude is just high.
You don't want to trip out.
Yeah, I don't want to trip out and everything like that, and I'm not ready for it right now. But they are trying. I mean, actually, I had a checkup 2 weeks ago, and the doctor, this is a doctor that was filling in for my normal doctor, and she was like, why aren't you doing the edibles? You would heal a lot faster. Yeah.
Well, maybe you don't need THC edibles. Maybe you just need some CBD edibles. Maybe they want you to try a CBD regimen and then work your way over to the THC.
That's what my son was talking about. He went and got some. I'm even scared to do CBD.
Yeah.
I use CBD.
CBD's cool, man. You're not going to trip out off of that.
I have pain.
Yeah.
It doesn't get my arm high.
CBD is a good way to start and just treat it and see how your body reacts to it. You won't trip out off the CBD. I promise you. No THC in it.
And another thing, we have a book we're working on, and Wallace is a pharmacist. So our book, everything will be pharmaceutical, which What You Call can explain.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, when we make edibles, all the desserts, just keep in mind, all the desserts, they come in two forms. There's CBD forms, and then there's THC forms. The THC forms will get you high, and you'll trip out and get a high and a buzz off of it. But the CBD forms of the edibles are just healing, all healing aspects.
Yes.
And you're a good case, and you're having some health ailments where they can do some research on you and see if the cannabis really does help you, to see if the CBD helps you. And if it doesn't help you, I say get off of that stuff. Because I know a young lady that was giving her grandmother edibles, and it was really affecting her blood pressure. It wasn't helping her at all. If it's not helping her, don't keep giving it to her. Grandma wanted those edibles. She really liked them edibles.
Yeah, but some of your vapors, they'll say calm on it and relax. So somehow they're doing that, because I'll do one and it does calm me down.
Well, that one.
Well, like I said before, they were the THC edibles. But I mean, it was proven. They even said, I mean, it really saved me. It really saved my life, because I have what you call the PFO. If it wasn't for the stroke, I wouldn't have known that I had a PFO. PFO is a patent formane O valve. And in adults, it's only 20% of adults that have it. Now, in human terms and language, a PFO, patent formane O valve, is a hole in your heart. Now, I know 3 people that I grew up with that died from it. So, 3 weeks after I went in for my checkup from the stroke, and they were like, well, why are you feeling like this? Because I told them, they said, well, how you feeling? I said, I feel fine, except for my head. I'm high, like my head is up in the clouds, but I'm down here. And I didn't need it. I didn't need a walker. Never needed a walker. Or never needed a cane or anything. And they're like, you shouldn't be feeling like that, because we're not giving you that much medicine. You shouldn't have any kind of, like feel high or anything. And so that was my neurologist. So she called in the cardiologist, and they're so high tech nowadays. He looked on this cardiologist, which it turned out to be a good one. He looked at my heart, and when he came in there, and I was like, well, my son was in there. We were all in there, and it was kind of scary to me, because like when a doctor comes in over, it's like the news is not good. And he told me, he was like, well, you have a PFO, and I was like, well, tell me, in layman's term, what does that mean? And he told me, hole in the heart. And I was like, well, okay. I was like, well, I'm 60 years old. And I was like, well, since I've had it this long, thinking to myself, I had it this long. I'm like, well, I'm thinking, can it be fixed? He was like, oh, yeah, we can fix it. He was like, and actually, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. We can cure it. So that I was like, okay. So I'm thinking, well, can't you just give me some pills or something for it and work on it that way? He was like, no. And so I'm thinking open heart surgery. It's not open heart surgery. It is surgery, but it's not open heart. But that's what I was thinking. So I was like, well, what happens if I don't have the surgery? And he said, I'll give you about a week, at the most a month.
Mm.
Wow.
And we looked at each other and we was like, what? He was like, a week or most of the month. He said, no pun intended, you're going to die.
So you telling me at the age of 60, if it wasn't for edibles, you wouldn't have noticed the health conditions that you were going through and saved your life?
Right. And if I had been listening, well, I was listening to my body, but I was being a hardhead. I didn't go to the doctor. I was chasing money. And I was like, let me finish this deal, and I'll go, and I would get, I'll take care of it and go to the doctor after it.
You're right. So important that you say that I just stopped. I want all of our listeners to hear that. It's important for us to get routine checkups. We don't want to go 2 and 3 years and we haven't seen our doctors and gotten a routine checkup. It's so important to get 2 and 3 checkups a year. I don't even know. I'm required to get 4 a year. Every time I'm required to see my doctor 4 times a year, quarterly. It's just good to go see your doctor routinely just to make sure everything's going all right with the body, because you don't want to have a health condition and catch it 2 or 3 years later. It could be too late.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's true.
So I'm glad you're getting your checkups over there, Mr. Detroit.
Yeah. Now, if I had did that, I would never have had a stroke, and I probably would have gotten a doctor who would have found the hole in my heart and wouldn't have had to go through all of that. But no, just being hard-headed. And, we black men, we don't see the doctors like we should.
I agree.
That's just a fact.
That's a true fact. And that's why we have something in the barbershop. We sell our Inglewood clothing line out of the barbershop in Inglewood, California. We want black men to start checking their blood pressure, so we have a blood pressure machine in the barbershop. We want black men to start checking their blood pressure more often and getting more health checkups. And the barbershop is a great place to do that. Imagine how many black men go to the barbershop.
Yeah.
Hey, that's our spot.
Exactly.
Everywhere.
Black men always go to the barbershop, so why not check their blood pressure when they go to the barbershop and just let them know how healthy they are?
Yep. That's my little story. That's my testimony.
That's an amazing testimony. Thank you so much for calling in today, Detroit. We don't get stories like that all the time. We usually have Wallace talking about how bad marijuana is, but now we have someone calling in talking about the benefits of marijuana. And I think that's what it comes down to. We just need more research on marijuana. There's pros and there's cons to it, but the research at the end of the day is really going to tell us how it really heals us. Yeah. So give it another 10 or 20 years and we can really figure out the health benefits. And we'll get more stories like Detroit's today and more incidents where people are being saved from cannabis.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with good herb. I mean, I've been doing it since I was in high school, and I'm 60. So,
do you still smoke?
And it saved my life. I don't do anything right now because, like I said, I'm
health conditions.
Well, I'm too afraid. You're
afraid to trip out.
Yeah, because the thing about it is, and it's true, after they did the operation on my heart and closed up the hole, I'm fine now. But it's like I'm a brand new person. It's like your engine getting an overhaul. So it's like whatever
you don't want to go back to that.
It's gonna be like brand new to me, because I did after I got out the hospital. And this was like a day after I got out the hospital, I hit a joint like 2 times. And I smoke very good herb. I don't smoke street weed. That's another thing. Don't mess with street weed. If any young kids are listening, never mess with street weed. If you can't grow it yourself or get it from a reputable place, some very good weed, that's the only kind we're talking about. We're not talking about the street stuff to where people are putting things on it and it's tainted with some other kind of drug or rat poison and stuff on it. We're talking about very good weed.
That's a very good point right there. You do got to watch where you get your weed.
Yep. So, so I call myself a connoisseur of it. So I tested it. I tested myself, and off of 3 hits normally get you really, really high. And I hit it like
a half.
And I hit it like twice, and I hit it twice like over 30 minutes. So I didn't, I wasn't hitting it hard or anything. And we were back in the studio. So, our crib is kind of large. So we were back in the studio. And all of a sudden I caught myself going to stand up to go back to my part of the room. And I stood up and I was like, wow. I was like, hey, y'all got to help me get to my room. And after that, I'm like, I'm not even messing with it right now because I'm not ready.
I have heard that right after medical operations or things like that, that marijuana, it does make you trip out a bit. It'll make you think about it a lot. I remember when I had shoulder surgery and I tried to smoke cannabis after the shoulder surgery, and it made me feel like my shoulder was throbbing. Really didn't help me with the pain. I smoke weed for the appetite anyway, but it didn't help me so much with the pain after the shoulder surgery. It really made me trip out, and it made my shoulder throb. It makes you think. Cannabis can make you think a whole lot, man.
Yeah, I was up until 6:30 that morning. I refused to go to sleep because I thought my heart was down.
It's funny you say that because when my brother had leukemia, they allowed him to smoke weed in the hospital. That was years ago because it was the only way he could get an appetite.
Oh yeah. Weed is a great source to help you if you can't get an appetite and you haven't been eating very well lately. Go see your doctor and get a dose of cannabis. Indicas work really well, and they help you, after you smoke a little bit. And some people don't like to smoke. They want to get an appetite, but they don't want to smoke weed because they just don't like smoking. You can ingest it as well, and it'll give you the same appetite. You'll be real hungry after you take that cannabis.
What about the edibles?
Well, I had a cousin who, she's passed away. She died of cancer. But when she had the cancer, they gave her morphine, and she finally got me. She finally asked me, would I go and get her some weed? She didn't know I smoked. She was like, can you go get me some weed? I was like, oh, yeah, I can get you some weed.
A lot of people are scared to talk about it and to ask about it. But, hey, if it can help your appetite, don't be afraid to ask somebody. Ask your neighbor, hey, do you smoke weed? Can you go get me some weed? Can you help me out?
Isn't that funny? Because when Beverly Hills, when I worked at Umberto's, I was always getting those women weed.
People are afraid they're going to go to jail over it, and they're so embarrassed over it, but it's a real common thing. Yeah. If you think cannabis can help your situation, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to talk to your doctor about it. That's a good place to start right there. Ask your doctor about cannabis and see what your doctor says.
Yeah, it won't turn you into a liar. It won't turn you into a cokehead. As we got a president. Well, y'all got a president. It definitely does coke. He lied.
So who you gonna vote for president? We got some interesting presidential candidates coming out. Who's your vote going to? Detroit?
Have no idea right now.
Not sure yet. Too early to call it?
Yeah, it's too early for me to call it.
Well, I'm taking the California candidate, man. I'm going with Kamala Harris.
I can see her being a vice president, but I don't see her as a president because I think it'll make it where we don't win again. I could see Biden or
you can see one of them,
or something like that.
That's what a lot of people have been saying, Carol. People are saying that if Michelle Obama couldn't be the first woman president, then this woman couldn't do it.
No, I think
they think if anybody, it was going to be Michelle. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if Biden is going to run.
But there's another guy. What's his name? It's B-E-T-A, huh?
Oh, Bernie. Not Bernie, man.
What's his name, Lee?
The guy out of Texas. He didn't win the Texas election. How are you going to win the presidency?
Well, Texas is Republican, sweetie.
And then we have the old Democratic guy that's running.
I don't see Sanders.
Bernie Sanders.
But he'll get all those young kids now.
He's old as dirt, but man, he wants to be president.
Like him.
Well, they say he raised a lot of money really quick once he announced.
He's a beast.
Million.
You got to remember, Bernie still has a following in this country.
He's a beast, man. He has a following, like you said. Don't put him out the race, huh?
Not yet.
Don't put Bernie out the race.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he.
But I think it's going to take a real bad mama jama to beat Trump, man. We're going to need somebody that's bad to beat Trump.
Isn't Elizabeth Warren?
Because if he stole the White House one time, man, he could steal it again. Yeah. He stole the White House.
And you know, it's crazy.
He rigged the election.
The day he was inaugurated is the day that they started raising money for the re-election in 2020. So they're already probably in the hundreds of millions for the election already.
106
My question is, how is Trump still president? I know how he got in there, but how is he still president?
I don't know.
That
The
really
cats
shows.
would be
It really
worse.
shows a.
Hey, I don't know how he lasted this long either, man.
It's amazing. It is truly
He,
amazing.
It
he
shows
is
that
a
we're,
beast.
America is. We're in bad shape. We're in bad shape.
We can't put anything past Donald Trump, man. He will come out and win again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Good.
people underestimated how strong that following
Let
was.
me ask you this question, though. Has your life been better the past 3 years with Trump or the past 4 years with Obama? Which period of your life was better, the Obama years or these past 3 years with Trump?
Well, let me tell you something about being in the presidency, and Lee knows this. If y'all are familiar with Lee Michaels, because he made me follow the campaign trail, and I got very deep. I was already into politics, but I got very deep into politics and very deep into Obama, the era. A presidency really doesn't show up until after they're gone. So the work that they do don't really come into play until when they're gone. So a lot of the good things that are happening now are from the Obama years.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but Trump being in office right now is saying
he's reaping the rewards of Obama's eight years, huh?
Exactly. Exactly.
So such a good point you hit on right there.
So
I thought I was living good off the Trump years, but that's all Obama's work.
There is another thing. There's another thing that people miss that Obama was saying. Whenever you want something done, you have to get heat from the streets. And heat from the streets mean, okay, when Obama was in office, you had the gays constantly every day. They were on Capitol Hill. They were campaigning, and they were protesting in front of the White House every day until they got what they wanted. Other abortionists, anti-abortionists every day, and it was our time. As if you want to go into race and say black people, well, it was time for black people to do the same thing. He said it's time to go to work now, but black people, we didn't do anything. We were like, we got a black president, and he's gonna save us. We were not protesting on a daily basis, or not even on a weekly basis on Capitol Hill. We refused to put our money together and come together and protest and do things and put heat from the streets to get things changed in the White House and on Capitol Hill to this very day. If I have a store and you are protesting in front of my store and you're protesting my store, but everybody that's protesting, they're coming in there to buy their snacks and buying up a pop, I want you to protest every day.
You're right. You're right, man. So that's what's happening now is Obama put in that hard work, and now Trump is reaping the rewards.
That's what happened. And not only with Obama presidency, with every president. That's just the way it is.
So whoever comes next is going to have to clean up Trump's mess after the last 4 years, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
It takes that long for it to become law.
Yeah.
You know. It just does. So Obama's first 4 years, his second 4 years, you saw some of it that didn't take that long. But the whole 8 years, now you're seeing the benefits of the 8 years. Because I didn't have health insurance. All of a sudden, boom, I got health insurance. I wrote a letter. I wrote an email to the Obama campaign. I was like, hey, y'all just messed me up big time. Because I was like, I can't afford health insurance and stuff like that. But then, it took about a year or two later, and then all of a sudden, it was like, where's this free health? Free. I got free health insurance now.
That's amazing.
And it's great health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
They kept sending me things talking about, can you get health insurance? And I'm like, look, I'm a struggling, y'all have to excuse me because I'm still recovering. A struggling, some self-employed rather.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm couldn't afford health insurance. Now I have it.
Well, we thank you so much for calling in to Joya and sharing your story with us today. And we hope to hear more stories about how cannabis have saved lives.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, this is true. It is nothing but the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I wish Wallace was here.
How much time we have left?
You'll hear it. We got about about 5 minutes.
Perfect. What's going on with the Lakers, you guys? You think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs?
They get high.
They might, because the Clippers haven't been looking too good. They made a few trades around the trade deadline, and
they've been losing.
Yeah, they looking shaky, man.
Wallace is a big Clippers fan, so I think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. I heard they have to win, I think, 18 out of the next 25 games.
It's doable.
It's doable
If LeBron is healthy.
If LeBron is healthy, huh? Those guys got to want it, man. I think when they traded all of them, man, they got a little attitude. I think all of them are a little upset, and they ain't got over the fact that they were about to get traded to the NO.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Lakers got to make playoffs, man. I don't see how LeBron James' team does not make the playoffs after he's been in the finals for the last 8 years, right?
Exactly.
He's got to go. Lake show all day, man. Let's go Lakers. So that's about it. We're wrapping up today with Mondays with Wallace. Our prayers go out to Wallace and his family today. We hope you get back real soon. And thanks for listening.